Коллеги, еще раз добрый день. Мы продолжаем.
Once again, hello everybody. We continue with the Russian Donors Forum annual conference, and we move on to the next SDG, SDG 5, gender equality and women's empowerment. We have been working on this subject for quite a long time at the Donors Forum. We oversee a project which is part of the Eurasian Women's Forum, and I give the floor now to our moderator, Yulia Bisilova. Yulia. Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, Sasha. Hello, my name is Yulia Visenyova. I'm a member of the Russian Donors Forum Council, and today we'll talk about practices on SDG 5, gender equality. Like Sasha said, we will focus on what the government, businesses, and NGOs do, not just in Russia, to empower women and girls and protect their rights. The reason I'm interested in this subject is not just because I'm responsible for public communications at the Johnson & Johnson. I am also in charge of the inclusion project. We help working parents, and you may have heard that Johnson & Johnson Russia has a project which helps to empower girls in mathematics and other sciences. I'm happy that we have a female panel today. I'm joined by experts on the subject, people who have spent many years and who have given a lot of their labor, their efforts to support women in their companies, in their organizations, and elsewhere. We have Irina Gildelbrand, Deputy Director of Social and Economic Research at NAFI, Kamila Jalilova, Deloitte CIS, the head of the Women in Mining Russia project. We have Yekaterina Lovshina, member of the Amway Foundation Board, Anke Petsch, Director for International Relations at the Association of German Funds. And we also have Philip Morris International in Russia represented here. As you know, gender equality is primarily about the economic well-being of women and girls. According to the National Review from 2018, there are 79 employed women in Russia for every 100 men. So what is the biggest problem that stands in the way of women getting jobs? Irina, how about we turn to you now? And I know that you did a lot of work on this subject, so could you please get us started? These are my slides. Can you see it? Yes. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity to be part of this event. And I thank each one of you present here for being the engine of change in this matter. Let me briefly tell you about ourselves. My name is Irina Gildelbrand. I represent the Analysis Center at NAFI. We do all sorts of sociological research for companies and for the government. And in recent years, we begin to focus more and more on the matters of gender equality. What is our vision of our contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals? Since we are involved in research activities, we believe that all the decisions made with respect to empowering women should be based on quality analytics, and this is our mission. We provide the analysis, we provide data. Many of you are familiar with international indices, rankings, indicators that reflect the level of equality or inequality between men and women around the world. Quite often, these numbers look boring to us. We don't understand what they mean. We can't interpret them. We can't see what creates the difference between various countries that are ranked first and countries that are ranked last. So we decided to take a broader approach to this issue and find out what people themselves think about the roles of men and women in modern society, and whether our public, our education are ready to give equal opportunities to men and women, whether women themselves were ready to enjoy equal rights. What are the remaining barriers, and who plays the decisive role in achieving equality? Should it be some political initiative, something official, or is it up to every individual, every person to push forward towards this? So we did a study we called stereotypes with respect to women and their consequences. I mentioned some indices. So according to Gender Development Index, Russia is currently ranked 81st among 150 countries, next to Ethiopia and some other developing countries. One of the reasons we are ranked so low is because there are some very strong stereotypes regarding the role of women, women's responsibilities, sometimes even capabilities that still remain pretty strong in Russia. These stereotypes affect women themselves and affect the situation in the country in general. So let's take a look at the results of our survey. What we found out is when people talk about a successful person, they don't associate with this with a woman. We asked our respondents to picture a successful person, and only 17% of the respondents named some women as examples. Especially in politics or in business, the numbers there were even lower, 4 and 1%. And many said that successful women were less appealing. Both men and women thought this way equally. And one more problem regarding women's situation on the labor market. This is about women being promoted to leading positions. Women achieve the level of a specialist, and this is where their career normally stops. There are many more women who have reached the step of being a highly qualified specialist, more than men. But if you look at the level of executives, leaders, the number of men is much higher than women. 59% versus 41% women. At the same time, we know that companies where there are mixed teams with both men and women represented at the top level among top executives, they are much more flexible, adaptive. The situation with the pay gap, women are paid 28% less than men on the average, including the areas where women are better represented traditionally. Also, Russian people believe that it's easier for men to make a career than for a woman. To get a promotion, to have a successful career, they believe it is much easier for men to do this than to women. As far as professional self-fulfillment is concerned, you can see on this slide that vast majority of the Russian people think that the main purpose of a woman is to be a mother and a housekeeper. And 1/3 of the people in Russia say that each woman has to make a choice, either to make a career or to have a family. Now, I would like to turn to the next subject, family and raising children. We saw one of the reasons for the stereotypes is they are passed from generation to generation. For example, we discovered that parents impart totally different expectations in their children from a very early age. You can see here that parents expect their daughters to become mothers, whereas from sons, they expect financial independence or making a career, becoming a high-level specialist. Next, occupational bias. Some professions are perceived as purely male, others as purely female. With the digitization in many different areas, we know that digital jobs are prestigious and popular. Still, parents don't treat their sons and daughters equally. They think that their sons should work in the digital industry rather than their daughters. And this slide shows segmentation of Russian society based on we divided society into 4 categories. Traditionalists on the left-hand side versus advanced or progressivists on the right-hand side. And you can see that traditionalists have a majority, 34%, and progressivists are only 10%. Of course, you can use different kinds of segmentation. You can break down the numbers by provinces, by other criteria. Our study is pretty big. Here is a link. You can go through our conclusions in more detail on your own. And in conclusion, I would like to say that the government should be responsible for providing equal rights to everybody. Yet, what I would like to focus on, all these stereotypes I just talked about, they are often shared by women themselves, the way women see themselves. And I think this often becomes a serious obstacle for their self-fulfillment. I hope the numbers I gave you today demonstrated that. I hope these numbers will motivate every woman to turn the situation around. Thank you. Irina, thank you very much. I apologize for a slight delay here. Unfortunately, you're right. Women always agree with these stereotypes. And this is an amazing study. This is really a benchmark to us. This shows what we're dealing with here. And we realize that we have our work cut out for us. And we would like to monitor the progress, how perception of women is changing. Maybe the number of progressivists is growing. Do you plan to do similar studies in the future? Are you going to continue this work? Yes, thank you for this question. This is an important subject to us. We did this first study in 2019. And now, as part of the Eurasian Women's Forum, we want to do our next study. And perhaps we will expand our geography. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do an international study. but the methodology really works, and it's quite useful. We'll continue using it, I guess. We came up with a mechanism for breaking down society into segments. I don't know, maybe we'll do some more specific polls for specific companies or something like that. The main thing, though, is to achieve the SDGs. Such studies are a very good instrument which show if we are really making progress toward the SDGs. I think analytics and statistics are extremely helpful in this regard. I agree, quite often this is the only way for us to demonstrate the efficiency of our work. Thank you, Irina. Later on, closer to the end of our session, we'll have a Q&A time, and you can send in your questions via the chat box. Let's move on to practical measures right now. There are many companies who empower women and fight the stereotypes that Irina just described. Many of you have heard about the Business Mom project by Amway Foundation in 60 different parts of Russia. This project was recently included in the National Project for Business Support. So we have Ekaterina Levshina here with us. Ekaterina, could you please tell us about this project, Business Mom, and what you have achieved? Maybe share some best practices we all
Юля,
could
коллеги,
use.
большое спасибо за эту возможность
Thank you
представить
very
программу
much,
«Мама
Yulia.
предприниматель», которая
I
помогает
would really
женщинам
like
поверить в
to
себя и
present this
начать свое
program,
дело.
Business Mom, to
Собственно,
you
почему именно Amway
that
обратился к
empowers
этой теме?
women.
Мы
The
компания
reason
прямых
Amway
продаж,
started working on this,
эксперты в
we are a
области малого
direct sales
предпринимательства,
program.
и
We work with
наши
small
дистрибьюторы,
businesses,
независимые
and our
предприниматели Amway, это,
distributors,
как правило, семейные пары, но
Amway,
бизнес начинают
independent
женщины, и для компании Amway основные
operators,
ценности – это семья и предпринимательство.
family couples, but
И,
mostly
собственно, здесь
businesses
получается у меня
started by
удачный,
women,
наверное, переход от
and their key
выступления Ирины,
values
потому что я бы хотела
are
сослаться на то
family and
исследование,
business.
которое мы делали при
And
запуске
I would
программы. Мы
like
его
to
делали
refer
вместе
to a
с
study we
МЦИОМ
did
в
before
2013
launching our
году.
program
И,
with the
собственно, попытались
SEO
понять,
polling
насколько женщины в
agency
России
in
готовы и
2013.
хотят
So our
открыть свое
question was
дело,
whether
насколько они
women
готовы
in
стать
Russia were
бизнес-леди.
willing to start
И
their own
результаты этого
business.
опроса показали,
And
что,
based on
к
this
сожалению,
poll,
больше
we
трети
saw that
респондентов
unfortunately
считают,
over
что в
1/3
России
of the
женщине
respondents
открыть свой бизнес
thought
чрезвычайно
that it
сложно.
was extremely
Почему?
difficult
Какие
for women
барьеры
to start
видят
their business
женщины?
in Russia. So
Во-первых,
what
это
were the main
страх
obstacles?
уйти от
First,
стабильной работы,
uncertainty
неуверенность
and
в том,
fear.
сможешь ли ты заработать и
They were not willing to
поддерживать
give
свою
up
семью.
a job
Второй барьер – это недостаток
for
знаний.
a company. They
Непонятно,
were not
как открыть свое дело.
sure
Я
if
не знаю,
they
я не
could
понимаю, с чего
support their
начать, я
family
не
if they start
умею
their own
планировать.
business. Then the
У меня
lack of
нет никаких
education and
юридических
information,
навыков.
no
И,
legal
конечно,
expertise.
очень многих
They didn't know how
останавливает
to start a
недостаток хотя
business.
бы небольшого
And
стартового
third,
капитала,
the
без
lack of a
которого,
starting
собственно, свое
capital.
дело не
They
открыть.
didn't have any
И,
money
начиная
to
программу
launch
«Мама
their business.
предприниматель», мы попытались
So,
ответить
when we
на эти
launched
вызовы.
our program,
И
Business
скажу,
Mom,
что
we
мы выбрали такую более
sought to
узкую
address
категорию,
these
да, не
three
все женщины
difficulties.
вообще,
And
а
we
мамы,
did
мамы
not
несовершеннолетних
look
детей,
at
женщины,
all
которые
the
находятся
women
в
in general.
декретном
We looked at
отпуске,
women
поскольку
who
для
were
них
on maternity
баланс
leave, who had
работы,
little
семья,
children,
самореализация, забота о
because
детях, баланс
work-life
времени и сил
balance,
наиболее важен.
proper balance was
Что
particularly
представляет собой
important for
программа
these
«Мам
women.
предприниматель»?
So,
Это
what is
очень
our program,
интенсивный курс,
Business
это
Mom?
5 дней,
It's an
в
intense
течение
training course.
которого
It lasts 5
участницы
days. During these
обучаются
5
основам
days,
предпринимательства. При
women
этом это
go
не
through
некие
some initial
теоретические чисто
business
знания, они
training.
приходят на
And this is
программу
not
со своей
purely
идеей.
theoretic knowledge.
Когда
No, they
девушки
have to
подают
bring their
заявку,
business
обязательно какая-то
idea
идея
to
должна
the
быть.
program. When they apply to our
И в
program, they
течение этих
have to have a
нескольких дней
business
они
idea. So
обучаются и
during
все
these
время
few
свою
days,
идею
we offer
проверяют,
them
прорабатывают.
training,
Такой краш-тест
and we keep,
происходит.
it's like a
При
crash
этом,
test for their
помимо
ideas,
тренинга,
stress test.
есть еще
In
визиты к
addition
действующим
to classes,
предпринимательницам своего
they
региона, где
also
девушки знакомятся с
meet with
бизнес-леди, которые уже прошли этот
business
успешный
women
путь. И в финале,
working in
пятый
their
день
cities.
обучения,
And then on the
конкурс,
fifth day, on the
где
last
девушки
day,
презентуют свои
there
проекты
is a
независимому
contest where
экспертному
they
жюри,
present
и
their
победительница в каждом
business
регионе
ideas to
получает
an
грант
independent panel of
размером 100
judges,
тысяч
and
рублей
the
от
winner
Amway на старт
gets
собственного
the prize, 100,000 rubles,
Когда
to
мы
start
выбираем
their
грант, мы
business.
смотрим на несколько критериев, часть из
When we
которых вы
pick
видите на
winners
экране.
for
Конечно, очень
our
важно, чтобы
grants,
идея
we
была
look at several
оригинальной и актуальной
criteria.
именно для
Number
того
one, it's
региона, где
important
сейчас
for this
идет
idea to
программа.
be
Мы смотрим на то,
original
что
and
проекты
relevant
были
for this particular
жизнеспособные,
city. It
реализуемые.
has to be a
Очень
viable
многие
project, a
проекты
realistic
имеют
project.
социальную направленность.
Many of
И,
these
конечно, нам
projects
важно, чтобы
are
проекты
socially
давали возможность
oriented.
создания
And number
новых
four, it's
рабочих мест.
important for this project to
Я
create new
упомянула, что мы
jobs.
начали программу в 2013
I said
году.
we
Сейчас она
started
идет уже
this
8-й
program in
год подряд.
2013, so
Начинали мы
it's
с 4
been
городов.
7+
И
years.
за
We started
прошедшие
with
7
4
лет
cities,
география
and in
выросла
the
в
last 7
15 раз.
years,
В прошлом году
we
программа состоялась уже
increased the
более
number
чем
of
в
cities
60
by a factor
городах
of
России.
15.
На
Now
этот
this
год у нас
program
были
covers over
оптимистичные
60
планы
cities in
провести
Russia.
ее в
We
70
were very
регионах, но, к
optimistic.
сожалению, из-за
For this
пандемии
year, we
программа
expected
очная.
to expand our geography to
Нам
70
удастся
years,
реализовать
but
ее в
unfortunately,
60
because of the
регионах, и
pandemic,
мы
we'll have to
очень
limit it
намерены
to
вывести
60
ее уже на
cities.
международный уровень,
And
запустить ее в
we
Казахстане.
plan to go
Получится в
international
конце
and launch this
этого
program
года.
in Kazakhstan later
Но
this
что нам
year.
удалось сделать за это время, помимо
So
чисто
what did we
географического
achieve
расширения, такой экспансии программы? Конечно, у
in
нее
addition to
появилась
expanding
определенная репутация.
geographically?
Если на
Of
первом
course,
этапе
our
нужно
program
было
wants some
убеждать
recognition.
девушек
During the
подать
initial stage, we had
заявку,
to recruit
мотивировать их участвовать в предприниматель, то
women,
сейчас у нас уже в
motivate
одном
them,
регионе
but
может быть конкурс на
now
программу от 3-4 до 6
we may
человек на
have
место.
3 or 4
Поскольку
or
учебная
5
группа
or
составляет
6
35
applicants,
человек, а заявок, как правило, у нас
we
гораздо
can only
больше.
admit 5
Конечно, нам
trainees,
удалось
and we
выстроить
received
отношения и получить
many more
поддержку местных
applications.
властей.
Of course,
И
we also work with the local
программа
authorities,
широко освещается в СМИ,
and
федеральных,
we
региональных.
get a lot
Только в
of
прошлом году
coverage in
она
national
была
and
почти
local
6
media.
тысяч раз упомянута в
For
различных
example, last year
средствах
it was
массовой
mentioned
информации.
by the media
Конечно, такого
6,000
масштаба мы не
times.
могли бы достичь без
And of course, this would
партнеров.
all be
Наша
impossible
программа
without our partners.
реализуется 4
We
такими основными партнерами на федеральном
supported
уровне.
by 4
Это
key
корпорат
partners at
по
the
развитию
national
малого и
level:
среднего предпринимательства, Комитет по
SME
развитию женского
Corporation,
предпринимательства опоры России,
Women's
Банк
Entrepreneurship
открытия, мы фонд Amway в
Platform,
ответе за будущее. И
Открытие
как
Bank,
упомянула Юля,
and Amway
программу
Foundation.
поддерживает Министерство экономического развития Российской
And
Федерации.
like
Она
Yulia
вошла
said,
в
the
список
Ministry of Economic
нацпроектов.
Development
Для
will
нас
now
это,
support
конечно,
this program as
очень
well.
важно. Вот у
It
каждого
was
партнера
included in
есть
the
своя
national
зона
project
ответственности.
list. This
И
is really
повторю,
important.
благодаря
Each
такому
partner is
партнерству вы видите, что
responsible
это
for
все
its
разные
particular
организации из
sector,
разных секторов.
and you
Такой
see
пример
that these are
государственного частного
organizations from
партнерства.
different sectors,
Благодаря этому
so
мы можем
it's like a
достигать
private-public
такого
partnership,
масштаба.
which enables us
Поделюсь
to achieve
результатами 2019
such a
года. Я уже
success.
упоминала
So these
количество
are
городов
results
и
for
упоминания в СМИ.
2019.
И хочу
64
обратить
cities,
внимание на то, что мы получили почти 5000
5,600
заявок на
mentions in the
участие в
media.
программе. То есть это
We
женщины,
received
которые
almost
готовы
5,000
думать о
applications. These are
начале
women
открытия своего дела.
who
Из
want
них
to start their
1700 девушек
business,
проучилось,
and
победительницы
we
получили
had
гранты.
1,700
И
trainees.
в
The
программе
winners of
поучаствовало более
contests
50
received
лидеров
grants,
Amway. Это те самые независимые
and
предприниматели,
about
наши
50
дистрибьюторы,
Amway leaders.
поскольку
These are
они
our
блестящие
distributors,
профессионалы в области малого
independent
предпринимательства.
entrepreneurs who
Лучшие из
joined this
них
program, helped
появляются в
with it,
программе в качестве
and
экспертов, членов
some of
жюри,
them
возможно,
participated
наставников для
in the
девушек.
program as
При этом мне
experts,
бы хотелось
members,
немного
as
остановиться на
judges,
том, как мы
and so
планируем
on.
развивать программу дальше.
Now,
Поскольку,
let me
конечно, помимо
explain to you how we
географического
plan to
роста,
develop
мы
this program. In
постоянно
addition
смотрим
to
на какие-то разные
geographical
векторы ее
expansion,
развития.
we looked at
В
other
прошлом году в
opportunities
Москве
for
мы
development.
опробовали такой
Last year in
особый
Moscow, we
пилотный
tested
формат
a
программы с
special
социальным фокусом,
pilot version of
когда мы
the project
пригласили
with
к
a social
участию
focus.
только многодетных
We
мам,
only
приемных
invited
мам и мам
mothers
детей с
with
особенностями развития.
3 or more children and
Разумеется, все эти
mothers
мамы могут
who
принимать
have
участие
children
в
with
программе, поскольку
disabilities.
для входа нужно
And
только,
of
чтобы был
course,
несовершеннолетний ребенок, хотя бы один, чтобы у женщины не было официально зарегистрированного бизнеса в крупных городах. И
we
смотрим на
plan
это
to
как
replicate
такой
it
следующий
in
вектор развития программы,
a few
когда мы
more
можем
cities
делать ее
this
с
year.
социальным фокусом в крупных
And
городах
so this is
миллионе.
a social
еще один
version
пилот,
of
который
our
мы тоже
program. And
пробуем,
another pilot project
переход
we are now
программы на
experimenting with.
несколько уровней,
We
несколько
want to
этапов.
try
Поскольку
a
стандартный
version of
формат
the program that would
подразумевает, что
include several
тренинг проходит
stages.
только в одном городе,
Because
в
the usual
крае
format
или
is to have
республике, как правило, это
a
областной
training course
краевой
in one
центр,
city.
и,
Usually it's the capital of a
соответственно,
province.
девушки могут приезжать и участвовать из других городов,
can come from other cities, but it's rather difficult for them to travel, to leave their children, their families for 5 straight days. So we decided to experiment having such trainings in several cities in one province. So there are 2 stages. There are local semi-finals, then the winners travel to the province capital, and that's where we have the finals. This way we can cover more people. We have several groups, we cover several cities, and these women can pick the city they will travel to. There are no limitations. You can travel to another city, a neighboring province. For example, we had a participant from Irkutsk participating in classes in Moscow. Can you imagine that, traveling across the whole country for this course? So we tried this in Arkhangelsk, Samara, and Ulyanovsk. And then the third level is the federal contest, the national contest, when the winners come together and we pick the winners at the national level. We always promote our program at various conferences and workshops on entrepreneurship, CSR. For example, this is an example from last year, St. Petersburg International Forum. And of course, we are very proud that last year we won the second place in the CSR Leader Contest. So please follow us on social media, visit our website, mamapredprenimатель.ru. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ekaterina. This is a huge success. This is a very important project, and it's great that it received the recognition of both the government and society. I have a question to you on this project, but if you don't mind, we'll do this later during the Q&A time at the end. Right now, thank you. I want to move on from what you shared, starting your own business, being an entrepreneur. I want to talk about organizations who help women, not only those who want to become a businesswoman, but to someone who would like to learn something new or maybe master a new profession. Irina, I go to you now. Could you please tell us about the program that your organization does in Russia? Thank you for the introduction. It's nice to be speaking after Ekaterina, because our program has a lot in common with theirs. I'll have a couple of slides later on. I will tell you about our results, but first, I want to tell you that one of our key social projects is called Status Online, and it includes two elements. In 2013, we launched computer literacy courses and legal literacy courses. We did this together with the CA Foundation. And then in 2016, we added another element to this program. This program includes women with children under 14 years old. And Status Online was included in the first voluntary national review of SDGs in Russia, which was presented on July 14th this year at the high-level UN meeting. The Status Online program is directly related to gender equality and also helps with SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 8, economic growth. And you're right, Yulia. The goal of this program is to offer professional training to women who are on maternity leave or who have children under 14 years old, to improve their professional training or maybe get retrained. Maybe their job became obsolete while they were on maternity leave. We have 20 courses that have been certified, which we prepared together with CAF. And this means it should be easy to get a job once you complete this course. It's not just a piece of paper. It's a certificate that really proves that you have received a very good training. This program works in 6 provinces of Russia. We picked cities where this program could be really helpful. In 2019 and 2020, this program took place in Nizhny Novgorod, Samara, Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, Volgograd, Altai, and Chelyabinsk. So what are the professional courses we offer? Personnel management, HR, accounting, finance, all those professions where digital technology is heavily used and where there is demand. Like I said, we work with CAF Foundation, and CAF Foundation works with a large number of very professional civil society organizations. For example, in Nizhny Novgorod, they work with a social rehabilitation organization. They offer professional training and use some of their courses for our women. In some other cities, women can go to local universities and we would pay for their education that the local university can provide. Before we launch our program, we ask what kind of professions will be in demand in this particular city and what kind of training women would like to receive. Now, I want to refer to what other speakers have said. The biggest obstacle for women is to believe in themselves. And our program, Status Online, revealed this. The goal is not getting a job. The goal is not economic self-fulfillment. The goal is to help women develop a new circle of communication. The goal, CAF people say, the goal is to pull a woman out of her house to her new context. So when women attend these courses, they remove their psychological barriers because women think they lost their skills, they can't learn, yet their confidence gets boosted. And later on, the graduates of our programs create clubs of business women. And I think maybe even some of our graduates later go on to Yekaterina's program. Yeah, we need to check that because it is quite possible. Some of our graduates may be joining your project later. Also, we have experts who offer pro bono consultations to women attending our courses. At the beginning of the session, you asked, what are the biggest obstacles that stand in the way of women catching up with men on the job market? Very often, women lack self-confidence after they spend a lot of time on maternity leave and spend a lot of time raising their children. It's not just my personal opinion. I want to share my screen with you now. We looked at the social return on investment in our program, and I will now share my slides because it's easier for you to understand if you can see it. And most women responded that the primary effect of the program was that it boosted their confidence. I will see if I can share my screen now. Can you see my slide? Yes, we can see it very well. Okay, so we started this in 2016, like I said. So we did this survey. We went to women who completed our training. And this was done by CAF Foundation because they're very good at doing these social return on investment studies. And we were just their partners at Philip Morris International. So we polled 1,800 women, and we asked them about key elements of the program. So what is social return on investment? As ROI, it's an indicator which gives you the coefficient, the multiplier, if you can measure social effect in money, what you get in return for 1 ruble invested. So you invest 1 ruble, and this number shows what you get in return, and it's 4.37 rubles. This means this program is highly effective. There are economic indicators like average salary for women grew by 8,000 rubles. Women were able to get a job after our training. That's 62% of women. And then there are other indicators that are hard to measure, yet it is still possible to measure them, whether they were able to find a babysitter for their children, to release some of their time. This can be calculated as well. So the picture is quite optimistic. This proves our program was really effective. And we definitely should use this kind of measurements to see how we can improve our program, whether it works well. A little bit earlier, I said that we often think that we should focus on wages and economic growth. Yet, this is not exactly true. Going back to the study Irina showed us, women care more about confidence, their psychological mental condition. Number 3, personal and business contact. So job and employment was ranked number 4. And income was listed as one of the last criteria by women. They don't really care about that. So that's results for 2016-2017. By now, we have over 5,000 women who completed our training. We had a short break because of the pandemic, yet since our women can take courses online, unlike older people. With older people, it's difficult for them to do this online. First, we have to teach computer literacy to them, but women don't have this problem. So in some cities, we continued our program despite the pandemic. It was just a short break that we had, but we keep on going, and we've moved on to the next stage. We are now picking new cities. Thank you, Irina. We will be looking forward to your next report. And I still have some questions I will ask you later on. So we saw what happens in Russia. You have companies like Amway and the PMI Foundation, how they support women. Now I suggest we take a little broader look, and let's take a look at Germany. We're joined by Anke Patch, Director for International Relations and Diversity, German Foundation Association. Anke has been working, promoting gender equality in the German NGO sector. Anke, I give the floor to you. Could you please give us the results of your studies, observations, your research?
Анки, не слышно, наверное, не слышно, да. Либо может быть какая-то задержка с переводом.
I think
коллеги наши уважаемые, которые поддерживают нас, как нам перестроиться, как нам подключить Анки? Она все еще на мьюте. Анки, можете отключить мьют?
Anki, your mic is on mute.
Отлично, спасибо. Спасибо, вам слово.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Again for the presentation and also for, sorry for this. Do you think Germany is a progressive country where men and women are equal treated? Yes, by law, it should be like this. We do have an anti-discrimination law. We have a general equality law. Equality is part of our constitution. And we have even a female chancellor, Angela Merkel, but only 30% in the German parliament are a woman. There are a lot of gaps and stereotypes, quite similar like Irina in the beginning told us for Russia, the findings. There are a lot of gaps, and I think one of the biggest gaps is a gender care gap, what really produces the structural differences. But let's have a look on what is going on in foundations, because there I did some research. I think there are two important levels we have to differentiate. So there's an internal level on where we are looking on representation. Where are the leaders in foundations in the sector? Where are the donors? Who are they? Who has the power, the money, and the decision power? Very important also is where are the role models for the next generation? This is the basis. And the second level, and I think the more important level for foundations and donors, is what do foundations do to address gender inequalities? How do they try to reach by themselves, not only for governments, the goal number 5? How do foundations care about female perspectives and including their voices? This external oriented factor is about transformation. I'm convinced these two levels are really closely connected. We do have in Germany around 26,000 foundations. And what I did is most of them are very small. They don't have staff. So 70% are without staff. But when they have staff, about 75% of the employees are women. So there's enough potential for leadership, but how is the situation? It's the opposite. So it's maybe 75% of men leading the sector. I looked up the 35 biggest foundations, and only 3 are led by a woman. Only 10 women are amongst 70 men in the management boards, if you take together these 35 biggest foundations. And only in honorary unpaid positions, so in the board of trustees, you find 8 foundations, you find 3 men and 1 woman. So in this ratio, there are even 8 foundations with men only boards. If the organizations are smaller, the numbers for women are slightly increasing, but still women are in the minority. In 30% of the cases in our research, these boards did not have a single woman amongst their boards. What did we do with these findings? I mean, this is only some very general findings, but we tried to bring in structurally some changes in the sector. So we started with discussions, and then we, on our conferences, we start with introducing gender-balanced panels. We put a magazine with the focus on gender equality and for our members, and we integrated it even to our good governance codex for the foundations. I was officially appointed to be responsible for diversity. We set up special networks for transformative philanthropy and to address gender equality and justice and diversity, transparency, and other rather ignored topics to the sector. And since the 1st of September, we have the first female CEO for the association. And in 2 weeks, we hopefully appoint the first ever chair of the board for the association, a woman, after 72 years with having a man on this position. So there's only very few foundations who explicitly fund girls and women in Germany. That's why we start addressing first the representation factor. And what I also do is, or what we do is on the European level, together with donors and foundation networks in Europe and with the philanthropy exchange network, to start discussions. We would like to have this research in all European countries, including Russia. Where are the top positions, how they are held. And I'm very interested in these results. Probably you see differences in Europe. And well, in Russia, I see a lot of women in high positions in foundations. So please use your power, the power you have there, because in the western part of Europe, often the women are not in this position yet. I would like to say a little bit more about the pandemic and how it transformed. I mean, the pandemic has shown that we are able to transform very quickly if we are forced to do so. But it had also shown a lot of problems. The number of millionaires are still rising, but people who have nothing, they have in the pandemic even less. And the specific role in the pandemic like made clear how important the role of women is. So women still have the main role in the care work and the health industry. Even in Germany, women still 3 times as much have to work as much as men in the household. So what they do, the unpaid care work. 9 out of 10 single parents are women in Germany. Worldwide, 70 to 75% of the personnel of social professions and in the care work are women. So, and it becomes even harder if you look on the facts like violence. In Germany, 2 out of 3 women have experienced sexual harassment in their lifetime. Every 3rd woman in Germany is affected by sexual or physical violence. In Berlin, you could see that in the pandemic where during the lockdown, the number of people who experienced violence has increased by 10%. So that's why I say that we have to find a leader who see the importance of women and start to bring them into the positions. And then they have to question themselves, how do they address equality in their own governance and operations? And what are the quality issues, the equality issues that funders should be conscious of? Yeah, these questions are very, very important. And I think it starts always with collecting numbers to see and understand the problems and even to become more aware about the bias aspects, because a lot of things are hidden and you can't see when you don't start doing research on this. Yeah, there's the last point. There's a growing understanding of the interferences of the topics. So I have seen you showed the SDG slides, how the SDGs are interconnected, and this is also something we have to explore more to see, like the climate change. Why is it important to work with women, or peace building processes? How important the role of women is in these fields, and if funders understand this and use their power and possibilities to address it, it will be a much better world, I hope. So, thank you.
Анке, спасибо большое. Действительно, Анке подняла несколько очень важных тем.
Thank you, Anke, very much. You raised a number of important subjects, how SDGs are interrelated, but her central message was about gender inequality in the NGO sector. The situation in Russia, indeed, is somewhat different. Yet, we have some areas in Russia where our situation is very similar to what you have in Germany. For example, mining industry. When I think about the mining industry, I imagine a man poorly shaved, wearing a helmet. I can't imagine a woman doing this kind of hard work, working in a coal mine. So today we have Kamila Jalilova with us. Kamila, I go to you now. I ask you to present the project Women in Mining, which is going to tear down cliches in this area. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen with you now. Yulia, you're totally right. You described the typical coal miner, poorly shaved, wearing a helmet. And this is already a problem. This is already a stereotype. This is, what do you think about a person working in the mining industry? You right away think it's a man. This is a picture. Our project started only 6 months ago. Actually, there are similar associations in other countries, Women in Mining, Australia, and other countries. We've been thinking about starting our community a long time ago, but we only did it recently. So we have this small team. These are women working for mining companies. Some of us work in oil companies, but on the whole, the issues we face are similar. When we came together, we had certain doubts, whether it was really necessary. What are we going to do in our community? We started talking about this, starting this community with Polymetal, another mining company. We needed to know what to start with. So we identified some key issues that we face: the lack of a professional community, the lack of mentorship. Many of our participants mentioned this: mentorship, coaching, expertise. We want to be able to pick up the phone and call an expert. International exchanges, professional self-fulfillment. So this chart shows the percentage of women. In some mining companies, it even reaches 40%. On the average, it's 25% of all personnel of a mining company. And this includes service personnel. If you only take people who directly work in mines, it's 10%. If you look at executives, it's only 2%. These are our partners and sponsors. We work with other companies. It's big work. We are grateful to founding companies that work with us. We believe our mission is to create a professional network for women. We will promote mining among young women. We will support female leaders in our industry. And in this way, we will support mining companies. We identified 5 key goals that we will pursue: creating a platform for professional communication. We will promote engineering professions. We will improve competences and skills of women working in our industry. We will support women's leadership programs. We will promote international cooperation. This is the list of things we do on each 5 of these goals. What you see in bold is the things that we are already doing, where we are already making progress. So who are we doing this all for? In addition to women themselves, the women who are part of our association, we do this. We work together. We do this. We work with corporations, with the top executives, HR departments, JR, IR departments. We work with colleges and universities because the industry is really interested in growing future employees for the companies. And we have a lot of experts in our association, people who don't work for mining companies, yet they're interested in developing this kind of community. They want the number of female leaders to grow. And of course, the government, different ministries within the government, economic development ministry, other government agencies. This is our calendar. It shows our progress. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic started right after we set up our association, so we only could do things online. So we had a large number of webinars. We asked our members, what else you would like us to do? And many of them said they lacked self-confidence. They said they were on maternity leave and didn't know how to come back to work. They weren't sure. So we started talking to different companies and different experts, and we received an overwhelming response, and our schedule is packed until the end of the year. We have many people who want to help these women. Okay, these are a few results in our plans for the future. On the left-hand side, these are results. We only started working 6 months ago, but during this time, we got 700 members, not just in Moscow and St. Petersburg, but also in small towns. We have 12 partners, including some mining companies, 3 major universities that offer education in mining, 5 interviews with successful business women. Alessa, thank you if you're watching this. We present a picture of successful women leaders, and this encourages young women in Moscow, St. Petersburg, smaller cities to know that opportunities are there. This is an important part of what we do. We launched our website, and we are on social media. We were mentioned in the media over 20 times, and we are ambassadors and partners with Women in Mining UK. This is the organization that inspires us, and this year we increased our participation in this ranking by 3, and we'll share our results for this year later on our website. On the right-hand side, you can see a mobile phone. This is our plan. This is what we plan to do, and I hope that before the end of this year, we will launch this. We want to create our own app. Like I said at the very beginning, there is a huge demand for mentorship and coaching. Young women want to learn. They want to get new knowledge. They want to share their knowledge. They want to talk to other successful women and men. There is no gender inequality here. So you can receive mentorship, mental advice, which is very important for minors. So that's our plan for the end of the year. We want to create our own app where people can go. You can register as a mentor, as a coach, or get a consultation. You can either offer or receive a consultation. So we have very ambitious plans. And this is our small team of activists, people working for Polymetal, researchers. And we are going to grow and develop. We want more and more young women to join us later on, so we encourage everybody to join us. That's all from me. And back to the moderator. Thank you very much, Camilla. If you don't mind, I suggest we move on to the Q&A time, and we've got some questions in the chat box. And then, since we don't have much time left, I will have a few questions for all of us. I have one key question for everybody. Also, I would ask Sophia, you had a question about volunteers and animal volunteers. Could you please leave your contact info and we'll get back to you on your question. The first question from the chat box is for Ekaterina Lovshina. How does your program promote entrepreneurship in Russia? And so one person in the audience asked me if you have some follow-up mechanism.
Спасибо за вопрос, Юлия, тебе и нашей слушательнице. Мы,
Follow-up,
безусловно,
what
смотрим
happens
и
to your
отслеживаем, что
graduates
происходит с
after they leave the
участницами дальше.
program?
Наши
Yes, of
победительницы
course we do.
присылают нам
Our
отчеты
winners
и о том, как они
send us
потратили средства,
reports
полученные от
on
Amway,
how
и
they
о том,
spent
как
the money
продвигаются их
they received
проекты.
from
Если вы
Amway
зайдете на
and
сайт
whether their projects were
manpredprenemaатель.ru,
successful. If
то в
you
разделе
go
«История
to
успеха»
the
можно
website
почитать
of our project,
такие
there is a section there called
живые
Success
эссе,
Stories. So
рассказы
you can
о
go
том,
there
как девушка
and
пришла на
read
программу,
their
как она
essays
победила и как дальше
where
развивается ее
these young
проект.
women tell their
Помимо
story,
этого
how
мы
they joined our
проводим
program and how their
исследования,
projects are
оценку. В
developing
частности,
now.
в прошлом году мы
And we
проводили
also did a
опрос
survey
участниц и
last year.
победителей программы 2018 года, извлекли из него много нового,
Circulated a
увидели для себя
questionnaire form
векторы
among
развития программы и
our
обязательно это будем использовать
participants,
в дальнейшей работе.
and we made some conclusions based on that. We'll certainly use this in our work later on. Okay, we've got some time left, so I will ask a couple of questions for each of our speakers. Camila, I have a question for you. Well, the memory is still fresh. Could you please tell us, did I get you right? These are young women who look for mentors or coaches, and considering the geographical situation in our country, how do you attract new members? What will you use to reach out to remote places? Because mining companies often operate in remote places. Yes, Yulia, thank you. This is actually a very important question. We understand that mining companies mostly work in remote places, and it's very difficult for young women to live and work in such places. We launched an ambassador program. We work with various companies who work in remote parts of Russia, and we encourage them to invite young women or young men who can be our ambassadors, who can talk to young women, understand their problems, because it's hard for us to reach them from here. And even communication tools don't often work in remote places. Quite often they don't even have the internet there. So it's important for us to have ambassadors in remote places, people who would reach out to young women, collect some feedback from them, get back in touch with us. And we plan to launch a special program, allocate some grants for talented young women so they can attend conferences or study abroad, support them in every way to help them with recognition and communicating with these young women, not just at higher levels, at the lower levels as well. We would always also tell people about them, because it's important to share success stories, not only about business leaders, but even about young women who may not occupy a very high position in their company, yet they're a successful specialist. This boosts their confidence and helps them with their careers. Thank you, Camilla. Since this is a day of practice, I invite our speakers to share some practical ideas, some practical things that you do, something we could use in our activities. I have a question for Irina Talashova. I know that PMI has a special section working on gender equality within your company. Could you share a little bit more what your company has achieved internally? Thank you for your question. First of all, I'm happy to share that Philip Morris Russia has been certified as the first company in Russia from an international NGO that certifies companies on gender equality and equal pay for men and women. This project started in 2005 at Geneva University, and it was later supported by the
Если перейти к самой оценке, то этот процесс сертификации достаточно длительный процесс, когда аудиторы, в данном случае выбранные фондом, это PricewaterhouseCoopers, в течение 1,5 лет изучали абсолютно все должностные инструкции, оплату труда на абсолютно разных уровнях. И сошлись во мнении, что мы в России и еще в 90 странах, где мы проходили такую сертификацию,
they agreed that in Russia and 90 other countries where Philip Morris operates, they agreed that women enjoy equal pay opportunities and career opportunities.
Мужчинам и женщинам в декрете и так далее.
Women on maternity leave, etc.,
те программы, которые мы внедряем в поддержке женщин, в том числе
this demonstrated that our program for supporting, empowering women,
связан с инженерными профессиями,
including a program for those working at our factories.
Вверху пирамиды,
We do our best to empower women, especially those returning from the maternity leave, moving on with their careers, going to the next grade. We have special trainings for that, and we have an internal community helping women to fulfill themselves. So we have made very good progress with respect to SDG 5 within our company. That's great. Anke, to you now. And again, you do a lot of work. Could you please tell us this? What do you think is the role of alliances in promoting gender equality?
Well, like I said, I think it starts always with collecting data and becoming conscious about what is unconscious. So be aware about the biases you have, and then really think in your environment, starting with your own governance, what you can do, how the situation is. So starting just with a simple analysis, and then start with steps to define steps and goals, and then yeah, go on. I mean, it sounds always simple, and the complex thing is that there are always burdens you don't see before. So people start being so if you lose power, the people start to react in a different way. So very often we see that everything is fine, but then it starts to become more difficult. And this is because some old men start acting against what we thought we want to do. And yeah, I don't know if this answers your question.
Да, отвечает на мой вопрос про потерю власти. Действительно, это проблема.
Yes, you did. It is a real problem. And I would like to go back to Ekaterina now. She didn't answer my question. Katerina, could you please tell us about your project, the business model, whether it affects the overall job situation in Russia? Yeah, I apologize because I was answering a question that they asked in the chat box, and I didn't answer your question. We did a poll recently together with an agro agency. We haven't released this report yet. This study was done among moms entrepreneurs, women with underage children who have their own business. And the results we received were quite interesting. We'll share these results later, whether their families support them, whether women women were able to keep their business during the pandemic. A lot of interesting data.
30% из тех,
For example, I was impressed that 30% of the women we questioned, women who have their own business, we questioned several hundred women. They said that they had their own business on the one hand, and simultaneously they worked as an employee for a company. That's truly amazing. This shows that women can do a lot of things at the same time.
На мой взгляд, да, это такой серьезный показатель. И если отвлекаться от исследований и говорить, в принципе, о том, как программа влияет, да, смотреть развитие экономики, например, то мы же действительно поддерживаем тех женщин и грантами, и, собственно, тем, что они учатся, поскольку многие говорят, что гранты, это приятно получить грант, но бизнес открывают не только те, кто наш грант получил. Большинство тех, кто прошел программу, открывает свой бизнес, во многом благодаря тем знаниям, которые они получили, контактам, связям и так далее. И, как правило, все проекты, которые создают дополнительные рабочие места. Поэтому если мы там имеем в виду, что проучились за все эти годы несколько тысяч женщин, и из них подавляющее большинство открыло свой бизнес, то в этом бизнесе будут еще рабочие места и для других.
На мой взгляд, это очень важный результат программы. 5,000 women, they start their business, this creates jobs. I think it's impressive. Thank you, Katya and Anke. I have a question for all of you. In conclusion, we only have a few minutes left before the end. We as women, the government, NGOs, what can we do right now, 1 or 2 steps to promote the ideas of gender equality? Irina, let's start with you. Well, based on what we discussed today, you can see what our next step should be. It's important for women to realize that there is a lot of us. There are many women who share these goals. We need to organize, we need to promote the image of a successful woman. And this will definitely boost confidence among women and make them better positioned for self-fulfillment. Number 2, setting up communities, developing the institution of mentorship. It's important for a young woman to have a mentor who can offer guidance. This too will boost their confidence and help them develop. And the point that Irina mentioned today, it's really important to create a system within your company or within your organization which will empower women to build their career, to be on par with men. You need transparent data, gender-specific data. This will help women with their careers. Thank you. Today we mentioned many different initiatives. And of course, there are many more initiatives that we didn't mention. Raising awareness. This should be one of the key areas in this work, because there are many instruments that are available, yet women are often unaware of them. So raising awareness is key. They need to know that there are initiatives and programs like that. Thank you, Irina. Kamila. What I'm going to say is not specific to women in the mining industry. I'm going to say something for all women who want to grow yet are afraid to do so. Don't be afraid of anything. Equal opportunity opportunities are guaranteed for men and women in our country. We are only different by some physical attributes. You should be more active, more knowledgeable. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You will always find support if you're looking for support. The only problem is if you don't want anything. So believe in yourselves. Anke, what about you? Your contribution.
So read some books and promote gender equality. Would be my first advice, and then prepare the 3 most important arguments why you are fighting for gender equality. So for your organization, that you can always argue on this, and then start the fight at home and with your family and friends in order to get stronger, because there will be some huge fights. But I think it's a basis to have also an equal system at home.
Спасибо, Анке. Ирина Талашова, подключитесь, пожалуйста.
Thank you, Anke. Ирина Талашова.
Я с удовольствием подключусь. Знаете, мне на ум пришел такой пример.
You know, I just thought of an example. Remember when Valentina Tereshkova went to space, the first woman in space? Back in the US, women played a secondary role in society, but the situation changed there dramatically. They boosting confidence when they saw that Valentina Tereshkova can go to space, women can work in mining industry, they can do whatever. So I agree with Camilla. We have a lot of opportunities for women in our country. You just have to believe in yourself. You have to be confident, and we, businesses and successful women, will be mentors, will share our expertise, will support you. So those of us who made it should be role models, and we should support others. All those who are motivated to seek gender equality. Only let's not make this artificial. The situation in Russia is actually not that bad. Okay, Katerina, how about you give us your concluding?
После всех сложнее всего, но на самом деле
well, it's the most
мне очень приятно
to be the last one.
Завершить, наверное. Мне кажется, все, о чем говорили мои со-спикеры, это о развитии женских компетенций, да, среди которых и эмоциональный интеллект, эмпатия, гибкость, многозадачность. И мне кажется, что залог нашего общего успеха, он в партнерстве и в сообществе. Потому что, как вот мы в моем предпринимателе, еще один из векторов развития видим, я уже не стала о нем подробно говорить, это создание сообществ, мам-предпринимательниц, участниц программы, тех, кто только думает заявиться, тех, кто в принципе хочет свой бизнес развивать. Мне кажется, наш залог тоже в партнерстве, и у нас тоже такое сегодня прекрасное сообщество. Вот мы с Ириной Талашовой уже готовы созваниваться и говорить, да, дальнейшем сотрудничестве. Поэтому я думаю, что партнерство, сообщество, это то, что нам поможет. А мы, женщины, в этом всегда очень сильны.
So let's always support each other. We women can be very strong. That's great, Ekaterina. Okay, as for me, I would like to thank our speakers, our panelists. I learned a lot of new and interesting things. What you shared was very valuable. You have some very good models. And I hope that these best practices will be circulated in our community. Our community will get stronger and stronger. I thank the Russian Donors Forum for organizing this session, for their focus on SDG 5. And I would also like to thank our participants for their questions, for being with us. And I hope that we'll keep working on best practices in promoting gender equality and empowering women. Thank you very much. I suggest we stop our session here.
Спасибо.
Thank you. Thank you, Yulia.
Спасибо.
This was great. We had a lot of numbers, a lot of analysis.
Спасибо.
So please stay with us. We'll continue in a few minutes. Bye-bye.
До свидания.
До свидания.
До свидания.